Hell with Vince McMahon. I don't need him.
Radiation is a curious thing. No one expects what it would bring. Fuck size men. All our sugar, the ants will take. A few we may never fix this mistake. We'll live to make again.
Let's jump into my favorite part of this. It's
Okay.
called word association.
All right.
I'm gonna bring up a name, and you just tell me what pops into your mind.
Okay.
Let's start with Shirley Doe.
Shirley Doe. Oh, man. You know, I don't know where I would be in wrestling without him and a few others. When Steel City was wrestling in Irwin at a little shot, Sideshow Pizza, Doe was always early. And he would pull me in the ring, throw me in a headlock, and stretch the crap out of me, even though I was I wasn't there yet. I was just helping set the rings up, doing whatever I could to be a part of it. And over the years, just a great guy. I mean, he has such a mind, again, for the business and ideas. I mean, that guy could probably throw 10 things against the wall and stick 9, if not 10. I mean, he's just so good at what he does. So I think that he's a fantastic person. Love him to death.
Okay. How about Lord Zoltan?
Lord Zoltan. I don't really know Lord Zoltan. I did a few shots with him when I was training with T. Never had an issue with him. He was always very quiet. But he, again, if you want to learn how to work a match and do nothing, it's an old school mentality. And get over like gangbusters. Zoltan's someone good to watch.
The reason he's been able to do it into his 60s, I mean, you know.
Right.
All right, how about Quinn Magnum?
Quinn Magnum. I think that looking at it from a fan point of view, Quinn had something special. I think he falls under the Bill Collier. I know Quinn had a lot of injuries, but that guy probably would have definitely done something in this business if he didn't have the injuries he had. Again, he has a mind for the business. He analyzes everything to the fullest. He is the absolute heart and soul of this company.
Okay.
And without him, I'm not sure where things would be now.
Okay. Choose your words carefully, because he's sitting right over there. So if you don't say something nice, he might come over here and smack the shit out of you.
Okay.
Paul Atlas.
He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
No, I would like to see Paul wear his Shawn Michaels outfit one more time.
Okay.
You know?
I think we'd all like to see that.
Yeah. Paul Atlas is, again, a mind for the business, somebody that I've had the opportunity of learning a lot from. And the thing about Paul that I love is, he kind of runs on the same lines that I do. He don't give a crap what the backlash is going to be. He's going to tell you how it is. If you don't like it, then get out. There's nothing wrong with walking around with an attitude if you can back it up. That's how I look at Paul Atlas.
Okay.
And that kind of goes back to the days of seeing him as a performer. And I was like, man, this guy's coming out to a theme song that says "fuck." That's rough.
Mm-hmm.
How is he allowed to do that? There was just all these things watching Paul over the years, and then to this point, being able to learn from him backstage, it's been a great thing. So I've actually grown my respect for him.
It's not a person, it's a thing. The India message board. Everybody says they didn't go to it. People went to it.
I mean, you went to it. I watched, that thing was great time to kill whenever you were taking a dump. It's all. It's the equivalent to the Mindy message board. Is it gone now?
Yeah, it's gone. The guy who had it, he passed away, and I don't think he paid to have it renewed.
Oh, that's good. Not good that he died.
No.
It's good,
It's gone, yeah.
That thing, man, for years, honestly, if I sat here and told you, Kato, that I never posted on it, I'd be lying to you, just like all the others. Mm-hmm. But it was funny because in the beginning of my career, I felt the need to defend myself if somebody said something stupid on there and this and that and the other. And I'll never forget, I got a message from Norm, and he's like, "Did you post on the board?" Yeah. Why? Because they called me a name. Oh, do you feel defended now? You got justice now? I was like, no, because I don't know who it was. He's like, exactly. Stay off the board. And I was like, So from that point on, it became just a reading thing. I mean, it's one of those things where guys went on there to pick on guys on jealousy. It was pure jealousy. I mean, it was just stupid. I'm so glad it's gone.
I had such a love-hate relationship with it. I used it as motivation to prove people wrong so many times. Like I'd read it, get so mad, and then be like, "I'll show you." My first show was a great example of it. And I ran a show, and somebody said, "Yeah, the term was the small pale freebirds running the show. That'll definitely suck." And then we drew like 234 paid, which isn't ginormous, but for my first show it was pretty good. Yeah. And I felt so vindicated after reading that, and so for me, I've used it as motivation over the years. All right, I'll show you.
The best for me was always the ones who went on there. He hasn't done shit. He's only lived in this town. He hasn't done anything. He didn't really go to Japan. This and I was like, yes. I absolutely green screened all those photos.
Well, maybe not an indie message board, but if somebody is, we all have critics. We all have people that don't like us.
Sure.
What are some of the things you've heard about yourself that have been the most bothersome over the years?
The one thing that kills me is people say I'm a dick and, I'm this, I'm that, as far as like being ignorant. Look, I tell people how it is. Does that come off as a dick? Ask Paul Atlas. It is. It is what it is. But if you come to me for advice, I have absolutely no problem watching matches, giving people advice, trying to help anybody. I think that's the one thing is like, the people who are on that board, or anywhere in general, don't know you or me to say that we're bad people. So I think that's the only thing that really got under my skin a little bit,
Okay, let's jump back into the word association. Next one, Brandon K.
Brandon K. Brandon and I really never knew each other until I came to PWX. We created this bond over wrestling and found out we have a lot in common outside of wrestling. When we started training, I think that bond only got stronger. Brandon's a good dude. He's genuine, but one of Brandon's biggest problems is he doesn't have the heart sometimes to tell somebody where to go. There's a lot of times in training we did good cop, bad cop. We planned it that way, but either way, it was easier for me to be me. It was easier for him to be him. So it worked out that way. I just think that, it's no secret as far as any heat that's gone between Brandon and other organizations over the last since he started Rise. I just think that Brandon needs to do Brandon and not let anybody get in his ear and, not let it, if you don't agree with something, you tell them no, damn it. You don't go with it. Mm-hmm. You can't be scared to hurt somebody's feelings. I've seen Brandon angry. He gets pissed, but it takes a lot.
Yeah.
But Brandon is a good dude. Him and I are very close.
You're very close. I find it curious that I don't see your name on Rise shows very often. Why is that?
No. I never worked Rise. Whenever Brandon started Rise, I think I was still retired. But I never really pushed the envelope to be out there. Because what Brandon was doing was something different. Young guys. Getting the young guys over. Get them over. There's no need for me to be on that show. I just never really approached him about it. He's always said to me, I'd love to get you on a Rise show. Cool.
Okay. How about Norm Connors?
Norm Connors. God, him and I go so far back. I'll never forget the first time I met Norm Connors, that he wasn't Notorious Norm. I was at a PWX show, and back then there was guys that sat in the corner. It was Matt and Kenny and Nino. You remember Nino? Nino Matty?
Yeah.
And they had the NNWO shirts, the Notorious Norm World Order. It was fantastic. Giant purple shirt. And Still City Wrestling shirts. And they sat in the corner. And it was kind of like, one of those things where they sat there and they cheered Norm for Norm and what he had done. And they were like, you should come over here. Okay, cool. They give me this shirt. I go sit in the corner. I'm now a fan of this, that, and the other. And, just going forward, meeting Norm after that, he's like, hey, you got the shirt. Yeah. Where's my money? I was like, oh, I got to pay for the shirt. Sure. But Norm and I actually built a great relationship over the years. At one point, his niece and I actually went to school together, and Norm has helped me tremendously going to the Still City shows, helping set up the ring. He's letting me be a part. At one point, he was letting me be a ref while I was training with him. He's like, you're too big to be a ref. And I was like, okay, fair enough. So I just stayed behind the scenes and helped wherever I could. But Norm gave me my opportunity to do what I've done for so many years, and I'm very thankful for that. He's a good dude. Everybody says about Norm and his rubber checks. Well, Norm flew me in from a different state, and I never had a rubber check attached to it. So maybe you're just the asshole trying to bounce something. I don't think. I don't know. That's one of those things where you talk about the message board about people saying things you don't understand, or why it's about you or anybody else. Anytime I hear something about Norm, I just shake my head because I'm like, I don't see it.
How about Fight Society?
Fight Society. I think that the concept of it is different, and nowadays with wrestling, different is good. Doing a ranking system, having everybody going for one title, I like that, because you can create all these storylines but still focus around the main attraction. And that that's something that I really liked about it from the point of when it started until now. It's definitely something that's growing and trying to better itself by learning from mistakes that's being made through this and that and the other. But concept of it's good. I think the fans need to understand it a little bit more. It needs to be explained to the fans just a little bit more still, even though I think we've gotten over a huge hump of them kind of like, what is it? I think they're understanding now, but I think now it's time for Fight Society to go to a next level as a company. I don't know if that is, but I think that's where it stands.
How about Chuck Roberts?
Chuck Roberts. Oh, Chuck. Chuck's a good guy. He is. Maybe not the best promoter in the world, but Chuck was always a good guy. I won't go to the point and call him a shitbag. Like I said, we all are hotheads at some point. I think him and I just had a bad night. But I've known Chuck for years, all the way before he was the promoter for IWC. And Chuck's a good guy. I don't mind Chuck at all. He'll talk your freaking ear off. He's like a car salesman. But I'm not gonna say anything bad about Chuck, because I don't have anything to say about Chuck that's bad, except I think him and I just had a bad night.
Yeah. I've heard quite a few people say some bad things about him lately. My experience is I always had fun.
Yeah.
With Chuck, so I don't know. But
I had no issues with Chuck, and then when it became promoter Chuck, it was a whole different ballgame. I wanted to smack him in the face.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. I gotcha. Let's talk about Patrick Hayes.
Patrick Hayes. So it's funny because I had to rewind my brain a little bit because I watched his interview and remember about him coming into IWC and having his tryout there and me watching it. And it's funny. Patrick is somebody that I think over the years nobody's really invested in. The guy has a ton of skill that he brings to the table. I think a lot of guys can learn from him, and he's put a lot of effort into what he does and how he is now. He's the Fight Society champion. He deserves it. I see Patrick downstairs sweeping out the ring. How long has that guy been in the business? But there's no kids around the ring sweeping out the ring. It's Patrick. So, that guy has a love and respect for the business that I can appreciate. As far as an in-ring performer, he can go. He's got it. I like watching his matches.
Yeah, I thought a few months ago I saw a match with him and Lee in here.
Blew the roof off.
It was good.
It was.
Holy smokes!
Yep.
They deserved to be working in front of a bigger crowd because it was as good as any independent match I've seen around locally in the last 6 months. So it was really good. Let's. You wanted me to ask you about him. I'm not familiar with him. Navajo Warrior.
So the reason why I wanted to bring it because you mentioned about things that influenced me throughout the career. So when I first moved out to Arizona, I was living here in Pittsburgh for all these years doing IWC, and again, when you're working with all these people, you get that whole I'm really, really good. I'm doing good. And when I went out there, I met Nav, and he brought me down to earth. So I walked in. Actually, what happened was I got a hold of Jake Garrett. He connected me with Chris Cole because Chris Cole had lived out there for many years, and he got me in touch with Nav. And when I first moved out to Arizona, I was like, ooh, I think I'm done wrestling because I went to a local show, and I watched a promoter walk over to a guy who just took a chair shot, blade his head, and then walk back to a table. There's no laws in Arizona like how we have here. So it was, and my wife and I were terrible. Oh, it was so bad. My wife was like, "Are you ready to go?" And I was like, "Yep." So we got up and we left. And it was terrible because they were running a big indoor skating arena. They had 200 fans there, and that's what you have to offer your fans. So I was like, "Yeah, I don't think I'm going to wrestle in this state." But they were more in Phoenix. He ran Impact Zone Wrestling, and I got up there and I met him, and he was like, "Well, where's your stuff?" And I was like, "Oh, I got my bag." And no. I need a picture of you and your gear, and I need a tape. And I was like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I had it. I gave it to him, and then he watched it, and he was like, "All right, I'll get a hold of you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so 2 weeks went by. And then I finally got a message. "Hey, why don't you come up here? We're going to give you a tryout match." And I was like, "The fucking tryout match? Holy shit. Do you not see what I've done out here?" And he broke it down for me. He's like, "What you did out there doesn't matter here. It's nothing. So I want you to go out there. You have 5 minutes, and you're going to do this." Okay. So I go out there, and I'm doing my normal shtick. Out here, it was very flippy in IWC. We did a lot of high impact stuff. Being a bigger guy, I was able to do stuff off the ropes. It was cool. So I start doing that out there, and the crowd are going to the concessions, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? So we finish, we come back, and he says, "When are you going to learn how to work?" And I was like, "What do you mean, learn how to work?" He's like, "These people don't want to see what you're doing. That East Coast style won't cut it out here. Learn how to work." I said, "I know how to work." He goes, "Okay, well, we'll try that next time." So he helped me realize the differences between work formats, because out here was very high-flying, Ring of Honor style, this, that, and the other. Going out there, old school, headlocks, working a hold, getting into the match, building your story off of that, not just this high, So he really brought me down to earth, really helped me out, put a ton of faith in me, put me at the top of his company, and gave me opportunity to actually, when I went to Japan, not only did I at that time I was his champion, I was the NWA Arizona Heavyweight Champion, and I got to take those titles over and wrestle in Japan with it. It was really, really cool opportunity. So I thank him for that. I thank him for bringing me down to earth, because and he's one of my best friends to this day. He brought me down to earth, hooked me up with a lot of great people that were in OVW and stuff, that lived in Phoenix, and I got to do a lot of stuff with guys like Hawaiian Lion, who's done stuff in New Japan, and he's been doing on and off stuff WWE for years. A couple other guys that were just uber talented down there. A guy by the name of Jay Garland. I don't understand why he never got signed. We'll call him the Bill Gullier of Phoenix. Okay, nice big guy, nice body.
Sure.
So, but yeah, Navajo Warrior. There's two people in his business that I focused on that helped me the most, and it was Norm helping me get my upstart, and then when I was out there falling flat on my face, Navajo Warrior helped me learn, go back to the basics.
Okay.
Tell the story with moves and holds and not just high flying stuff. So it was really cool.
How about Chris Helmsley?
Chris Helmsley. Good Lord. So, when he first started training, he trained a little bit with IWC.
I don't think I ever knew that.
It was a very short stint. I'm not sure what happened on why he had to stop wrestling, but he, after years, he started coming here and training. And I was like, well, you are a train wreck. And he is probably one of the hardest working people that I've met in this business as far as being a trainee. And that doesn't take anything away from Lee or any of the other guys who work really, really hard. I think he sometimes mentally overdoes it. He overthinks a lot of things. But he is very good in the ring when he's able to go out there and just relax. When he's overthinking things, just like the rest of us in some point in our careers, everything goes to shit. I don't think he gets the... he's a perfect example of head up, mouth shut, ears open. He didn't understand the whole point of, at first, listen without talking. You don't need to have a comeback for everything. Just listen. And, he's gone past that point now where he's earned a lot of guys' respect, but still needs to earn guys' respect. And his biggest flaw is just not thinking before he speaks. But he's a good guy. He can work, and when he comes to training, he gets in there and does everything with the trainees. Unlike some guys who come down and will stand outside the ring and watch the trainees do everything. He'll get in there and he'll start doing everything they're doing. So he definitely has the work ethic and everything. He's got this thing in his head where he's past his prime because he's older. And it's like, you just got to make out of it what you want. You going to go to WWE? No.
How old is he?
He's 36.
Jeez.
35.
I was having my best matches was 33 to 36.
Well,
so.
Yeah. So, but he got in late. He was, he was 34, I think, when he started training. So, it's just one of those things where when you start training at a late age, you want to be here, but you start thinking, do I have the time to get there?
Right. Type of stuff.
But, yeah, I think he's one of the hardest working people that I've seen walk through the door.
Okay, last one. Jim Miller.
Jim Miller.
Let me first ask. Why is it every time I ask someone about Jim Miller, there's always a deep, very deep breath before they answer?
Well, that's a great question.
It without fail, when I say Jim Miller, it's always
a long-winded answer, I think. That's why
All right.
I'm going to go with that.
All right.
So over the years, obviously coming here as a fan and everything and knowing Jim, I've known him for a long time. And I think that Jim is a good dude. Jim wears his heart on his sleeve. He'll give you the shirt off his back, but he won't give you the dollar out of his pocket. Jim works hard for what he has. Jim may have never gone to the point of production of other companies, but Jim invested in his guys to the point where he could. Could he do better? I think all of us could, no matter what we do in this business. Jim has been nothing but respectful to me and my family for many, many, many years. Jim doesn't like being told no or that he's wrong. And I think we've all experienced that at one point where he'll fight you to tooth and nail that he's right and they're wrong. I just wish that Jim would open up his tunnel vision a little bit and quit worrying about all the other shit. Just do you. Well,
speaking of which, sort of maybe in the same vein, but maybe not. A question just popped into my head. You've been around here for the last 3 to 4 years, and no doubt between PWX and Fight Society, a lot of the young talent that's here has left.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, in your personal opinion, and what can be done differently to sort of curb that problem?
Well, I think, I mean, that's a great question. I think that the one thing that helped when Fight Society kind of started was Jim stepped back a lot. And Jim started focusing on Angel Gate and doing his own thing. And, you know, Quinn and Mega, they started worrying about, you know, what we're doing here at Fight Society. And I think that over the years, see, it's one of those things because it's an understanding and it's a misunderstanding on certain aspects. I don't think people really know how hard Jim works at it mentally. That guy comes down here early in the morning, sits in his office, and he's reading and doing and this and that and the other. You know, Jim's built the stage. I mean, he's done so much stuff, working on the building wherever he can. I think the problem with it is when Jim sees disrespect in the business and he tells one of the young guys about it, they don't get it because they don't have to tear the ring down and put it back up. They don't have to load it on a truck and drive it, you know, 100 miles. They don't have to do all the stuff that we had to do growing up in the business. Jim is misunderstood, and obviously we know Jim doesn't have the best delivery sometimes, but I think that the younger guys in the business don't understand what we've gone through to get where we are. Not that that's anything, but the respect that we've built in this business is based off of what we've done, not just in the ring. And I think that it's a misunderstanding between generations. Jim is very old school. In that mentality, when you were told to do, you do. New guys have attitudes. Automatically think they should be here. Some guys should be there. They got the look, they got the work, they got the this, they got the that. Sure, put them there. Some guys have problems coming back down, though. They don't understand the cycle of, you know. I think that in order for everything to be successful moving forward, Jim needs to keep doing what he's doing now, focusing on Angel Gate. He doesn't exactly have the best communication skills when it talks to wrestlers or anybody in general, because if you know Jim, Jim's very, you know, he'll tell you to your face, you know, F you, get out of my building. So, but that's in life. I mean, I've seen Jim do that wasn't wrestling related. So it's not like he's just a bully in the wrestling business. You know, Jim is just a guy who will not hesitate to tell you where to go. And I think that, you know, a lot of things are heavily influenced by others too. You know, you get one guy who doesn't like this other guy, and everybody's buddies, they're all going to go where the one guy is because this guy's an asshole. I mean, we've seen it for years in wrestling with different cliques and this and that and the other. I think that was heavy on it too, as far as people leaving. It was, oh man, this person's over here talking about how greener the grass is. Well, come on, Kato. The grass is never greener. It's the same shit, different locker room.
Yeah, I think that it's sometimes difficult, though, to tell a guy that, you know, maybe the locker room's the same, but the locker rooms are all the same, but, you know, you're wrestling in front of 75 in one place and 400 or 500 in another. And that's you know, I've been on both sides of it, promoter and wrestler, so I can sympathize with both.
Yeah.
It's, I feel somewhat bad for PWX / Fight Society because I've made so many people that I genuinely consider friends here. I really would like to see it work, but I don't know what the answer is. So to make it work on a better level.
Here's what I'm going to say to that. I came from the 300-400 crowds. IWC always had good crowds. There was 1,000 people in Court Time Sports Center. We did War Games. It was AJ Styles versus Christian Cage. It was a huge night. We have so many nights like that. The Franklin Legends shows, 1,000 people every time. I've been in front of a lot of crowds. We ran Johnstown War Memorial. Great show. Lots of people. I think what it comes down to is, again, what are you doing in this business? Do you want to care about the 40 people? Or do you want to go out there and just better yourself by working on that one person that you should be focused on anyways to get the rest of the crowd going? When I was in Arizona, that company I worked for, IZW, they had a bar show every other Tuesday night. They held like 100 people. Okay? Now you're talking guys who are in OVW. You're talking guys that were there from WWE, Val Venus, Giant Bernard. What was his gimmick name? I can't. A-Train. Mm-hmm. He was from down there. This is before he became a coach. And, Snuka's son was down there. There's all these guys that had done bigger stuff. You got one guy who wrestled under a mask in Madison Square Garden on a house show against somebody in WWE just to job out. But either way, they've done stuff with them. And the shows were ran to be here. So if you understand how to go out there, and when you're working a hold, acting like you're on a 30-second spot on a commercial, and then you get back into it, it's all about training your mind to do stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So yes, the bigger crowds make you feel different. We've both entertained that as far as being in front of 400 or 40. Mm-hmm. But if your job at the end of the day is you bettering yourself to get here, it shouldn't matter how many people are out there. Because everybody who's here has been in front of those small crowds. We can't dictate how many people are going to walk through the door. That's not our job. Our job is to go out there and perform and make the company good. It's the promoter that has to do all the other stuff. So if they don't deliver, that's their wallet. We're getting paid. But if you want to be top-notch, then you go out there and you do what you're going to do no matter whether there's 400, 4,000, or 4 people. And that's how I look at it. I don't think that... And a lot of people get wrapped up in the bigger crowds, this and that and the other. But that's when I say to a Chris Helmsley that I just had a conversation with about this. Yes, the low crowd sucks. But go somewhere else. They might draw more, and it'll give you a different feel for things. It'll help you get more engulfed in how things are. You can't guarantee a crowd at all. I mean, there was times where we double shot. A little Powerhouse Hughes would run a fair show out of Monessen, and then we'd shoot over to IWC later that night. So we go from 50 people to 300 people. I mean, and it's a fair show. Anybody could have walked up and watched that show. They didn't, but they could have. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things. Again, if you go out there and all you're worried about is the 5 people or the 50 people or the 500 people that's out there, instead of what you really should be doing, which is being a pro wrestler and doing your job and entertaining those 5, 10, or 500, then you need to figure out why you're in this business. Because NXT guys are out there running shows in front of 100 people. If you look at some of the stuff they do in some of the smaller areas, it's not just takeover shows. They're doing smaller shows too. So you have to be able to go out there and just be a pro wrestler and not say, oh, there's 50 people here. I don't feel like doing it. Mm-hmm. Well, then you shouldn't go on a show.
I just heard Dee Snider from Twisted Sister say in an interview as I was coming here today that he felt like he always worked harder mm-hmm. in front of small crowds. Mm-hmm. Because he wanted that smaller crowd to go out and say, even if there were 7 people there, each one of them went and told 10 people the next time, holy cow, you should see how hard Twisted Sister is working. Like, that's a great show. You got to come see it. Whereas if he's in front of 20,000 people, he's already there. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I think that sometimes that's lost on, well, there's nobody here. I'm not going to work hard tonight. I agree. But I'll tell you what, we've covered a lot. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
No. I think we're good. I just, I want to see in the future, I'd love to see this city be successful with wrestling again. This city, I don't think wrestling is successful in this city anymore.
What would it take for it to be successful?
Everybody got to get their heads out of their ass. Quit stomping on each other. Do your own thing. Quit worrying about other people. Just do you. Let your fans come to see you. And quit running the same nights. If you got your own building, change your dates. If you got, this and that and the other, do it differently. I would just like to see people be their own entity in wrestling as far as companies.
Okay. Well, this has been great. We're going to wrap it up with this. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's been fun. I don't know how long we went. There's no doubt a many-part series. So thank you guys for sitting through it. I'm glad you did. We're going to close, as I always do. Guys, girls, please stop having shitty matches. You are ruining my life.